Welcome to EasyFM tutorial part 3. In previous part we finally got our simulated aircraft to fly, and in this part we'll try to make it controllable. I'm assuming you already know how to set up controls in UE4. As you can see, I've already done that. I've mapped them to a gamepad, and now only thing that's left is to go to our blueprint and get the control events. Now I am doing a single player game in this example. If you were doing a multiplayer game, you would probably have to go through player controller to be able to replicate controls all across the network. But right now we are going to do everything in this blueprint. So let's start and let's link our roll input event to EasyFM's roll input. Set roll input, and when this event is triggered, the exit value will be passed into EasyFM. And it's still not going to do anything because we don't have any control sensitivity set up. So let's go to EasyFM and go to control and set roll sensitivity to, let's say 2. Let's see what happens now. And as I move my joystick, the aircraft begins to roll. And let's do the same for pitch. Sorry, I need to set it. Set pitch input, also link it to this event, and of course we need to set sensitivity for pitch control as well. Let's say also to compile and see if it works. Yeah, it's pretty controllable. And finally yaw. Same thing. And for yaw sensitivity, we're gonna put in some lower number. Let's say 1. See if it works. Yeah, that works too. Pretty simple, huh? However, there are some more options I need to explain, and that's this linear control sensitivity. Just like with stabilization and with lift, you can set them to be linear. And of course we have scale sensitivity with alpha, which allows us to enter more curves to control how sensitivity varies with AOA and with slip angle. And since in previous episode I didn't really explain how such control curves work, I am going to do it now. We're gonna make pitch sensitivity related to AOA. So let's create a new curve called fault curve. Let's call it pitch sensitivity, and it's gonna look something like this. At 0 AOA, pitch control will be set to 1, In other words, it is going to have full sensitivity, and let's say at 20 to 24 it's gonna fade to 0. Save it. We're gonna do the same for negative, except it's gonna start fading sooner. And hold on a second. So all I know, it looks like this. Let's link it to our model. And now, as you can see, if I try to move the aircraft past 20 degrees away, the controls will stop working and I can no longer reach any higher. And that's basically all there is to controls. Additionally, you can also activate what's called RCS, or Reaction Control System. This will allow you to operate controls even with 0 airspeed and 0 air density. This is useful for like spacecraft or VTOL and so on. And finally, we have flaps and spoilers. These have a bit more to configure, but the parameters should be pretty self-explanatory. Flaps lift is how much additional lift will flaps generate when fully deployed. Flaps drag is how much additional drag. Alpha, now what will happen is that when flaps extended, it's going to change, let's say, trim of the airplane. In other words, when you extend flaps, you can make it try to go nose high or nose low. You have flaps extension time and flaps retraction time. What that does is when you change flaps input, like, hold on a second. When you change this value, the amount the flaps are deployed doesn't change instantly. However, it's going to change over time. Of course, if you leave this value at 0, it's going to change instantly. Now, you can, even when this retraction or extension time is non-zero, you can change it instantly by changing flaps position directly. This is useful when you're like reloading from a safe state or initializing a new actor and so on. And spoilers work the same way. You get additional drag generated by the spoiler. You get spoiler lift multiplier. Now this is for aircraft that have spoilers on wings, and when they're deployed, the amount of lift will be reduced. Typically, this type of spoilers are on airliners. On the other hand, you get also downforce, which basically lift acting in opposite direction. And this is for something like, let's say, F-18 that has spoiler above the fuselage and it pushes downwards. Now, spoiler alpha works same as flaps alpha, and extra parameter is stability multiplier, which will change the amount of aircraft stability when the spoiler is deployed. This is typical for airplanes that have spoiler in the tail, something like an F-16. And of course you have extension and retraction time, which works same way as with flaps.